It's time for the PFF Top 10 Quarterbacks, all per our draft guide. All part of your PFF Edge or Elite package. We got 10 guys right here with full breakdowns in the draft guide. Be sure to get it today. All right, Mike, let's do it. It's quarterback time. It's a little different from last year where we had, I think, a pretty clear 5, almost 6 guys as first rounders. Let me just start with this. Where's the cutoff this year when we're talking about first round caliber quarterbacks per our board?
I think it's right around here or Will Grier. I think somewhere in this range. I think those two are for sure. And then Will Grier, we're saying, if you draft him in the first round, we're not going to argue with you.
And Drew Locke, I think, is pretty close. But let's go player by player here. Kyler Murray, number 1, not only on our quarterback board, but on the overall PFF draft board. He is just far too valuable inside and outside the pocket to deny him the top spot here or just on the overall board.
Yeah, the thing I keep coming back to is if he were purely a thrower of the football, if he had nothing with his legs, so if he's Dewayne Haskins, has no added run threat ability, he would be in the conversation for that top quarterback on our board in terms of what he can do with his arm, special throws down the field, as many as anyone in this class. But then you add in his rushing ability, where he is every bit as electric as Lamar Jackson was a season ago. You think it's even probably going to maybe translate to the next level better because of his size in terms of he's a little more stout and Lamar Jackson's skinnier. You worry about the injury. I don't really worry about Kyler Murray. He reminds me of Russell Wilson in that regard, that he has a solid frame that I think he can take a few hits on. So add in that running ability with that throwing ability, and we've seen that's a deadly combo for opposing defenses. Does so much that they have to account for. At that point, I think he's number 1. Should be number 1 overall.
Yeah, highest graded passer and rushing quarterback last year in all of college football. So Kyler is going to be our clear number 1. The next group is very debatable, but let's go through them. Dewayne Haskins from Ohio State. My big concern, Mike, is when everything's clean, when everything's looking good, he looks pretty good. He makes NFL-type throws, throws the dig route. Everything looks pretty, but you mentioned maybe the lack of athleticism. I don't love when he resets. I don't love when he has to make plays under pressure, and a lot of that showed up on film last year.
Yeah, really not much in terms of second reaction plays out of Haskins. He could go to his number 1 read and this first guy a lot of the time in that offense because of just how talented his playmakers were and how much they got play out of the spread, 4 wide, 5 wide. He would just go to 1, and then that would be it. He could hit it. Looks fantastic throwing the ball over the middle of the field, hits so many, crossing routes in stride there, quick release. You love the arm strength. But I just think those, like the second reaction plays, and then his deep downfield, I don't see a lot of high-level throws down the field. He had just guys running too far wide open, had a lot of misses when he didn't have that being the case. Not a lot of creativity in terms of throwing guys open that were covered. When at the NFL level, you're going to have to do that. It's not going to look anywhere near as favorable as what he saw at Ohio State.
Can I throw my comps on here?
Yeah.
Let's just write them down. So Kyler Murray, I think the closest run-pass threat is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, so our Wilson is mine. This is rough. This is just to get an idea of what they could provide. For Dewayne Haskins, it reminded me of Sam Bradford. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh no, how is he that high? But Sam Bradford, if you gave him the right supporting cast and you get guys that can get open and get a good offensive line, Haskins can pick you apart as well as anybody else in this class. And then number 3, Will Grier. A couple of good years of very good PFF grading, but a lot of his biggest plays are the over-the-shoulder downfield throws, probably a lot more than you're going to see at the NFL level. 10% higher, actually, big-time throws just on over-the-shoulder versus the average NFL player. So that's where I think I have some questions with Grier. He's accurate, but still some question marks about his game.
Yeah, I worry about his pocket presence in terms of just, I didn't see, it's similar to Haskins in terms of anything goes wrong in the pocket. I didn't see a ton of creativity there. And then just some of the worst throws we saw all year from any quarterback. We're coming from Will Grier in terms of pure misses, just some terrible underthrows down the field, and then some just terrible decisions, which reminded me of, you're putting Derek Carr there?
I'm putting Derek Carr.
I was going Andy Dalton over here. That reminds me of him in terms of just when Dalton misses down the field, you're just like, where was he throwing to? That was some of Will Grier's throws downfield this past year.
Remember, these comps aren't perfect across the board. My reason for Carr, I think Grier has unbelievable feel for throwing the ball down the field. And at Carr at his best, you'll see him drop one in the back of the end zone, much like Grier did to win the Texas game. Maybe the best throw that any quarterback had in this entire draft class. So creative throwing guys open down the field. However, Derek Carr had the most -2s, the worst throws that we see, the most in the NFL last year. That's Grier too, So my question with him, whereas with Haskins, you were saying, hey, if guys aren't open, he's in trouble. With Grier, if post-snap something doesn't match up with what he thought he had pre-snap, then things kind of go awry. So I think if he's in this really good offensive coordinator situation where the game plan is good and strong and giving him open receivers to throw to, he'll be okay. And I know that's a lot of what ifs, but I think that's quarterbacking in today's NFL. So I got some Derek Carr in him that I've seen. Now, we've officially on our draft board set the cutoff here as far as first-round talents go. I know that there's some debate here. We have Drew Locke as a fringe first-rounder. Again, we wouldn't shake our heads too much if somebody takes him in the back end of the first, like Green Bay or something, in a developmental role, but certainly have some question marks with Locke and his down-to-down consistency as a franchise guy.
That's the thing. The consistency with him is by far his biggest issue. When he's throwing against air, so at the Senior Bowl and like the one-on-ones, when he can step into a throw, deliver it, knows where he's going with the football, he has as much arm talent and accuracy as any quarterback in this class. The thing is, that is not the majority of your throws at the NFL level.
Right.
You just have to be able to navigate pockets, make second decision throws. You have to be able to make off-platform throws, anything like that. So any sort of pressure hits, any sort of that. Drew Locke saw ghosts more than anyone saw in this class, was just inconsistent with his accuracy, just did not step into so many throws on tape that you're just saying, why is he not stepping into that? His left tackle is 10 feet away from him, backing up a little bit, but he's falling away as if the guy's right in his lap. So that's concerning. Pockets only get tighter at the next level, and I'm not sure you can correct that. He's a 4-year starter. He should be over those habits by now.
Does not step up in the pocket. Have to do it at the NFL level. He drifts back too much and drifts side to side too much, which reminds me of Jay Cutler quite a bit. I've called him Jay Cutler even light because I went back and watched some Cutler film. Cutler had better footwork in college than Locke did, so it's really difficult to overcome. But if you throw on his 15 or 20 best throws and compare him to the rest of the class, man, they look pretty special. He can throw a touch. He throws off balance. So you could say, oh, he throws off balance. Reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes did not miss nearly as many throws as Drew Locke at the college level, but similar traits and arm talent and all that fun stuff. That reminds me of Cutler because you've got the high-end throws, but also the inconsistency. As we get into number 5, now Daniel Jones, a lot of people have him up here, talking about him as a top 10 player. We have more reservations about him. My biggest issue with Daniel Jones, I don't think he did anything extremely well across the board, more of just a solid player, which to me screams more day 2, that round 2, round 3 type of player.
Yeah, even at his best, even in the games where he really put it all together, I just did not see him lead high-level offense. So some of the nicest thing you can say about Daniel Jones is that he had bad talent around him. And he did have bad talent around him. He had one of the 5 lowest graded offensive lines in the country, had just nothing at the playmaker position, but you're banking on the fact that with the talent around him, all of a sudden this high-end play is going to be more consistent, whereas I don't think there were even the games where he was at his best, graded the highest, he led a high-level offense, so there are concerns in that regard.
From a comparison standpoint, he made a few throws last year where he stood in there under pressure and still had enough arm to get the ball down the field. A couple times when he was about to be tackled and still got the ball out. That reminded me of Nick Foles, and I called him a little bit of Nick Foles light. And I know Foles just signed a huge contract and he's won a Super Bowl, but if you really objectively look at Foles' career, it's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And his high-end play has coincided with a Chip Kelly offense that tore apart the NFL in year 1 schematically, a Philadelphia offense in 2017 where he just kind of went on a run, really well-called game, and the stars aligned, so to speak, for Foles to have success. I think that's where Jones is. Keeps his eyes downfield in the pocket really well, throws well under pressure. Everything else is just okay across the board, which screams a Foles type of third-round type of prospect to me where you've got some starter potential.
I get why people have fallen in love, though, with Jones in terms of pocket presence, in terms of what he does post-snap and going from 1 to 2 to 3. He'll get to that third read and make that, make the check down when nothing else is there. He's very good at that stuff, which NFL people like to see because then you don't have to be taught any of that at the NFL level. That's already there, so you can just seamlessly transition to any offense, but he can seamlessly transition to any offense with some bad decision-making down the field that we've seen from him and some inaccuracy, which those two things I'm not sure are as correctable as maybe some of the others.
Yeah, the thing about Jones when he's making those plays under pressure, sometimes it's a great throw, sometimes it's a bad and ugly throw, and that's the cyclical nature of being a Nick Foles type of player. All right, let's get into the rest of these guys, because I think from Daniel Jones down, here's a cutoff right here. We have Finley as a back end of the third round type of guy, but I think that's the cutoff as far as starter potential and then backup potential. I think Finley could be an excellent NFL backup with a little bit of starter potential, but he is limited as far as arm strength goes, and it showed up anytime he played better ACC competition.
Yeah, he is on the bottom end of arm strength that you'd like to see at the NFL level, probably actually below the cutoff that you'd even say is feasible for you to be a quality starter in the NFL. It's just that poor. You saw it on the intermediate to deep stuff that when he did face Clemson, quicker, faster safeties and cornerbacks just made up ground on his throws. So that's the biggest concern to me. Now, we've seen guys improve their arm strength to some degree, but he has an uphill climb with accuracy. If he did have the arm strength, he'd be up in this group for sure.
Well, that's why I think he's still in that third round range. I think you could try to develop that a little bit. I wouldn't hate a team like the Patriots, the Saints, the Chargers that might need that next starter to take a shot in that third round range. He still has pretty good touch. I was also surprised at how well he just came out of bootlegs and found open receivers. He's got pretty good feel for the game. Among the rest of these guys, Brett Rippon, 4-year starter, has some pretty good PFF grades under his belt. Gardner Minshew didn't do much at East Carolina, but was fantastic last year at Washington State. And when we talk about arm issues, though, really shows up for Minshew trying to throw the ball down the seam and outside the numbers. So that's why we're talking about all of these guys have deficiencies. Easton Stick's not the most accurate, but he's pretty athletic. Stidham, not the most accurate, just too slow to process, but he's got a really good arm. So they all have at least one trait, so to speak, to kind of hang your hat on, which makes them, I think, mostly a backup. Anybody else out of these guys that's interesting to you?
I don't really love this group. I think it's kind of gotten overhyped how weak this quarterback class is. I think there is something to work with here, but down here, the later round guys, there's a reason why they all have big flaws that I don't think you're going to be wanting any to even step in right away as a backup in this group.
There's a reason, though, why we have these two guys with probably lesser traits and actual skills as far as velocity goes, while we have those guys above Jarrett Stidham. He's just deficient in the wrong areas as far as quarterbacking goes, but I could see the NFL taking him and moving him up closer to this range. So there you have it. It's the PFF Top 10 Quarterbacks. Again, we've got a full breakdown on all these guys in the PFF Draft Guide. It's all part of your PFF Edge or Elite package.